Supreme Magus, Chapter 72, Mock Exam. In the following weeks, life at White Griffin Academy became more hectic by the day. After the lift spell, Professor Naliar made them learn more educational spells with increasing difficulty and restrictions, putting the students to test at every lesson. Professor Trask started making use of all the available rings in the training hall, giving them military-trained soldiers as sparring partners. They were equipped with enchanted armors and would use a different weapon every lesson. The students, in turn, could use only one element based on the scenario. Trask had advice for each training session. After every defeat, their partners would teach them footwork and point out their mistakes. The Master Healer lessons went without a hitch. The divide between Professor Vaster's favorites and the rest of the class became so wide that soon no one dared any more to hope stealing their spotlight. The only thing left for the other students was trying not to fall too much far behind and placing their bets about who would come out on top. Most of the Forge Master course took place in a classroom. Professor Laika, or one of her assistants, taught them how to differentiate runes based on the elements and how to combine them to obtain different effects. Solus was enthusiastic about the Master Alchemist lessons she kept taking and promised Lid a big surprise. She had quickly finished copying her book, and now the two of them would raid the Academy's library at every visit. As for the private lessons, they went smoother than Lid had expected. After a month, Quilla had already mastered 5 kinds of silent magic, while Freya and Uriel were struggling with the 4th one. Normal first magic requires hand signs and magic words. Silent magic, just the word or the signs. Perfect silent requires only gestures to better direct and control the conjured effects. Her learning rate was terrifying, worthy of someone that managed to enter the White Griffin with no mentor. Lid suspected her to be a genius and kept a close eye on her. Thanks to the tonic, she had grown of 5 centimeters and had gained 10 kilograms. She was still thin, but her mana core had already evolved to deep cyan. Over time, he had managed to gain their trust and confidence, or at least so he hoped. Lid decided to teach them only silent magic, keeping the secrets for perfect silent magic and multicasting for himself. He wanted them to be reliant on him, not dependent, or it would dampen their growth and self-confidence. Not to mention, he had no desire to give away such precious secrets and get nothing in return. Lid had proven them that they could trust him. Now it was up to them to return the favor and show their usefulness. It was exactly a month after the beginning of the private lessons that all the 4th-year students were summoned by the headmaster in the main hall at the ground floor right after breakfast. Several professors appeared as soon as the gong that signaled the nearing start of the lessons resounded. They opened multiple warp steps, bringing them to their destination. The abrupt change of their routine left them confused. They had started that day like any other, preparing the spells and the books for the daily courses. "Hello, my dear students," Linjo said when the last warp step closed. "I hope you enjoyed breakfast, since it will be the last decent meal you'll get for a while. At least, if you are good enough. Today, you will start the mock exam to prepare for the trimester finals. You will be split in groups of 5 according to the specialization of your choice. Each group will be composed by 2 attackers, 2 defenders, and 1 healer. Your current evaluation will affect how your group will be formed. The duration of the exam is 1 week. It will take place in the forest surrounding the White Griffin. The only thing that's required from you is to survive as long as you can. Don't worry, it's a controlled environment. The professors will rescue you in case anything goes wrong. Questions? Several hands were raised. Lit was among them. Lit from Lutia. Speak freely. I thought there would be no tournaments or competition, Lit said. Why this change? Lin just chuckled. It's no competition. The forest is really big. Different groups will go in different areas. The chances of meeting are nigh zero. And even if it happened, a team disrupting another would be immediately stopped, with devastating effect for its member grades. I forgot to specify that you will be constantly monitored, so be aware what you do or say. His voice became cold during the last phrase, searching in the crowd for the most troublesome figures. Then he pointed to a girl. Histi Kafor, speak freely. Lit recognized her. She was one of the last placed in the healer class. Isn't this set up too unfair? Forest makes no favors. If the groups are formed based on the evaluations, isn't like dooming those who are still struggling to failure? She was of course speaking of herself. There wasn't a single topic where she shined yet. You misunderstood my words. Linjo shook his head. The groups will work on equal footing. What I meant before was that they have been assembled so that all the groups have the same rank. I would never allow such a pointless exercise. This is an opportunity for you to socialize and learn to rely on each other. The test is meant for the whole team, not for the individuals. If the kingdom will ever call for your help, you won't get to choose who to work with. You'll need flexibility and solidarity. Murmurs filled the air. The students who reputed themselves good were already cursing their trashy teammates before even knowing them, while the bottom feeders were praying the gods to give them someone that would lead to uneffortless success. All hands went down at that point, so Lit raised his own once again, while the sorting had already begun. I'm sorry, headmaster. One last question. I understand this is a team effort, but what if someone falls to a beast and gets saved by a teacher? Can he or she get back in the team, or does the whole group fail? She will be considered to have died and returned to the castle. If only one member remains, a group is considered as wiped out. Needless to say, harming your own group is forbidden. You have to solve your differences, not escalate them. Suddenly, the air was shaken by a furious bellow. What do you mean I'm in the same group of this commoner trash? Curious, Lit asked Linjos, who had shouted. He explained to him that she was one of the top in the battle mage specialization and was referring to a girl that was quite far behind her. Thank you for pointing it out, young mistress, said Professor Binlow, the one in charge of the battle mage classes. The girl put up a big satisfied smile. Finally something was going her way. Minus 50 points for questioning warders and another minus 50 for having the gall to say that to my face. He yelled at her like a true drill sergeant, making her cower. Without discipline, there is no victory. An arrogant leader who disrespects her soldiers can only lead them to defeat. Besides, who's trash? Have you ever fought something in your life? How do you know how she reacts to danger? Or how would you? Real fights are different from the classes, and usually those who flap their gums more are the first to fall in battle. Now shut up, unless you want to lose another 50. Having lost half her points in one go, she obeyed. Lid ended up in a group of 3 girls and a boy. He didn't know any of them, so he tried to do his best to act friendly, like he did with the healers group. In the last month, he had regained quite a bit of his social skill and lost his edgelord demeanor. When Professor Trask opened their warp steps, he was ready to move forward, when one of the girls grabbed him by the shoulder, forcing him to halt. Professor Trask, you haven't told us who is the leader. The chain of command must be clear. Lid face-palmed inwardly, while Trask, with his usual sass, did it openly. Good gods! Are you deaf or what? This is a group exercise between people that don't know each other. It is up to you to decide who is the leader, and is a choice that has nothing to do with grades, status, or prestige. A leader doesn't just yap orders around. He will also bear the responsibility if the team fails. Is it clear? He glared at the nearest girl before pushing them all through the dimensional door. Once inside the forest, all its senses went on alert. It was a completely unknown environment. He could rely on the books inside Soluspedia to recognize plants and animals, but they were of little use for survival. Magical beasts would not give him points for his expertise. They would only try to rip him apart, dooming him to failure. He was looking at the tree barks while sniffing the air with his heightened senses, trying to ascertain the nature and kind of the local predators, when the worst noise possible reached his ears. We still have to decide first who's in command, said another girl. How can anyone be such a bonehead? If they keep up like this, we'd better surrender, he thought. All his efforts to talk sense into them ended up in failure. They accused him of trying to steal the spotlight again, like during the common classes. Lid had even opened his speech saying he had no interest in being the leader. He just wanted them to be quiet and start moving. That just made them angrier, yelling at him to stop ordering them around. In the meantime, a few dozen kilometers away, the ruler of the forest was taking its first morning nap, snoring soundly. One of the giant front paws was pressed against its eyes, shielding it from the sunlight while enjoying spring's warmth. With each of its breaths, the world energy would enter its body, nourishing and strengthening the mana core, pushing it forward to the next evolution. Numerous small birds scampered on his curled massive body, chirping boldly. Nothing would dare attack them while on the highest throne. Boss, boss! An enormous rye, its height at the withers, reaching 2 meters, with a golden fur with shades of red and yellow, approached galloping. The birds gave it no heed, continuing their business. Wake up! It's that time of the year. Again. The Scorpicore body shook up, suddenly alert and clear-headed. Oh gods, no, I'd swear I had cubs until just a few months ago. Finding a decent mate is such a hassle, not to mention how much care those adorable furballs require. Thanks, Emrook, but I think I'll hard pass. I need some me quality time. If a living human soul was allowed to spectate, he would see Arai face-paw himself in frustration. Not that. I mean the men pups from the Maid Mountain have invaded your turf once again. The Scorpicore stood up on its fours, stretching its spine and front legs like a cat movement, forcing the birds to fly away. You moron, you should have said that earlier, it growled, towering above the rye like an adult with a child. Finally, some fun. Alert all the dens. I hereby declare the game season open.